Red, blue, purple light, friends, flags. Red, blue, purple light, friends. Red and blue, purple light, friends, flags. You can get to know the ledger, sacrilegious Sunday to melanin Monday. You can get to know the ledger, my love. Just open your third eye on Thursday. Lord, the food, the art, the clothes, the Vatican's getting exposed fast. We put the show on the road. You better stay on your toes. I was till the land focused on the ego. Then I open my heart, let go of the ego. Grand after grand, we stacking up these C notes. Facts, facts, yeah. We gon' put this shit on our backs. Facts, facts. We in your city, pull up where we at. Facts, facts. Peace, love and light. Peace, love to the family. Peace, love and light. To the family. Peace, love and light. To the family.
These days and time, black man, is going to be the time that you have been waiting for. You came here for a reason. Whatever pressure, whatever adversity, whatever the fuck you feel, I don't know what you feel, but whatever you may be feeling is going to push you, and it's going to provoke you, and it's either going to make you or break you, similar to how pressure busts pipes or the shit makes diamonds.
Peace, family. Peace to you and yours. Peace, family. Peace to you and yours. Welcome to Know the Ledge. Welcome to Know the Ledge. You are now rocking with the best. Yes, this is your host for this afternoon, Brother Red Pillar. Soon to be joined by my co-host, Brother Blue Pillar, in the building. All right, let me know how we sound on the audio. Let me know how we sound on the audio, ladies and gentlemen. That track that you just heard is from the 44 Tops, and that is the Facts remix. All right. The Facts remix. So without any further ado, let me open up the line for my co-host, introducing our good brother Blue Pillar, live in the building. Peace.
Peace to the family.
Peace
love, and light. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I feel like it's been a while since I've been on this thing, but yeah, shout out to the family. Shout out to KTL. Where can they get them 44 Tops at?
44 Tops is available on the Mart125.com, and we also have the single available on the Bandzoogle page. We have an EP on the way, and it is going to blow everybody. It's going to blow your minds away. I promise you. So I will drop the links for the merch and also the music today. But man, we got a powerful episode, ladies and gentlemen. An alumni, somebody who, an alumni, a good brother who in his early beginnings, we had the pleasure of hosting a few shows with this good brother, and he's just been, how onions unravel. He's just been unraveling and giving us great experience after great experience after great experience, growing his brand, growing his student base, growing his impact, growing his global footprint, and also showing up on one of my favorite TV shows, dealing with my childhood and whatnot, the nostalgic Wu-Tang American saga.
Yes.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is our good brother Gano GRILLS.
Street Master GRILLS.
Street Master Gano GRILLS. All right. So I'm gonna let Blue open it up, and then bring them in.
Yes, indeed. Our brother Street Master Gano Grills has been an illustrious member of not only the KTL community, but the overall spiritual community. Our brother has several decades of input in this community, not just as a teacher, but also an illustrious student, right? Who continues now to uh, turn out new students into the world, if you will, inaugurate, initiate, and introduce new students, a new student body to new modalities of ancient forms of teaching, right? There was one in particular incident in our illustrious KTL history that stuck out the most when the brother went to Kemet. And if I vividly recall, this may have been around a Lionsgate alignment, and I'm sure that our brother will correct me if I'm off, but I do remember that he was able to harness an attribute of light in this particular demonstration. And by far, with me seeing a lot of people visit Kemet, that particular demonstration spoke to me and pulled something forward from me that I said, I want to go and experience that, and I also would love to experience it with my good brother. You know what I mean? I see a lot of commonality in our brother because we grew up watching our brother in different settings. You know what I'm saying? And now he is here in an illustrious setting. He's doing his teaching. He's doing a teaching at high levels, and he will be doing that teaching coming here to Atlanta, closing out the month of the magical month of August. The month of gold is what we call it. All right. So with no further ado, I want to introduce to you our good brother, Street Master Gano Grills. Peace, love, and light.
Peace, love, and light. How you
Yes.
doing?
Light. Greetings.
Greetings. All is well.
Greetings.
And again, brother, I have to always reiterate that this is a surreal moment for me because I grew up observing you in various different settings. Before I knew you, I knew you. And then when I was embraced by you, I knew you on a different you were stepping on a different stone. And I was like, the brother do graffiti too? Like he's an illustrious artist. Me and my brother have a backdrop in artistry, and we're always looking to identify artists in the community because we know that they're multi-tiered and multi-expressional. Um, so when I saw you, because I had seen your work before I knew it was you. Once again, your work always preferences you and speaks before you arrive, before we get an opportunity to meet the physical avatar. We're being introduced by some of the work that you put into the world. This has been consistent with you as long as I've known of you, which has been quite some time since the 90s. So again, I do want to say that it's always surreal that I'm seeing you and you always seem to be transforming. You are a being that's constantly becoming. Can you speak to that?
Yes, I can. Well, first of all, I want to thank
Yes.
you and your brother Red Pillar and the
Yes.
entire KTL community for allowing me to, come on and engage with you guys. I really appreciate that. And yes, I before I speak on that, Blue Pillar, I want to thank you for there was something that you did for me, and I believe it was when I was on KTL when we were on Blog Talk way back,
Yes.
and you created this one sheet with myself and Chihuti walking out of, I believe, the Vendetta Temple.
Yes.
And this was after the first time I came back from Egypt in 2014. And looking at that and the way that you created that, and the way that you had that generated, it helped me to see something that I was missing all along. I was being presented with an invitation to accept something that I just was not seeing. But that creation that you made at that time, it helped it to land firmly in my consciousness. And that was one of several things that happened during that time that allowed me to accept the invitation to be able to do a lot more. So I have to remind you of that and thank you for that. And I'm sure to you, it was like, effortless, and you probably put no energy or thought into that,
Again, it was not because that introduction that I just gave about you going to Kemet and receiving the light, that was during that particular outing. So I remember I took careful consideration to it, because it felt like you were doing something for us. And when I say us, I mean as a community. When I say us, I mean for those of us that have an intimate relationship with Kemet that have not been there, and also for us that identify with Tahuti energy. So
hmm
I took the careful consideration as a scribe and as a designer to put you in proper alignment, because you are walking that walk.
Well,
So
thank you for that. And that only solidifies the point even more, that you took that type of care and preface into putting it in it. And it really did, I got the energy of that. So thank you once again for that.
yes, you're welcome.
In terms of your question, speaking to the question was, unfolding and things like that. And I might have, you
Yes,
may,
I would call it the throes of transformation. Since we've known you, you have constantly been changing and evolving. You are a being that's always becoming.
right, right. So, and I got it. So I would say, it's important. Like I said, I'm a consummate student. I'm a student of everything. I watch animals be carefree, and I watch how they move. I am always observing things, and that in turn teaches me things. So I think that, uh, one of my biggest teachers was Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the success of Earth, Wind, and Fire, as well as their failures as a group. And I was first introduced to Earth, Wind, and Fire consciously in 1975.
Mm,
And I knew that there was a really good reason why that album, That's the Way of the World, where they're all, it's a white album, white double album, and all 9 members, if you unfold it, you'll see them all in various positions. And I think it's Verdine White and Maurice White, who were the brothers that are just standing there, but everybody else is in various stages of acrobatics and flight. So as a
right.
kid, I was fixated by that album, and I just looked at it, and I knew all of their names back then. I studied their names, what instrument they played. I don't know why it was so important for me to really watch them, only to find out years later that they provide a really good account of what it is to, like you say, constantly unfold and never stop your evolution. So one of the things I look at as Maurice White as the abbot of Earth, Wind, and Fire, he was with the Ramsey Lewis Trio. Well, first he was with Chess Records as a session drummer for years. He played on Rescue Me and My Guy. He played on different hits of the '60s,
Right.
only to move on to be inducted into the Ramsey Lewis Trio as a drummer. He was very, very shy, and he would come out sometimes and play the finger piano, the kalimba. And
Mm,
it was Ramsey Lewis that got him to come out of his shyness and put a spotlight on him during the performance to get up and start playing this kalimba. And he was a drummer, but in 1969, he told Ramsey Lewis, I have to leave because I'm getting these visions of me creating something that's going to be for the future. And that was Earth, Wind, and Fire. So he keeps on, he leaves the group, and Ramsey Lewis gave him his blessing. And he creates Earth, Wind, and Fire in 1969, only for the first lineup of the group to just walk out on him in 1970. And they had 2 albums on Warner Brothers. So he could have gave up there. He could have just said, you know what, I've made enough money. I'm going to just recede back into the cut and relax. But he didn't do that. He called Perry Jones, who was a formidable person that he knew, and he told him what the problem was. And Perry Jones says, I got something for you. Don't worry about it. He was the one that introduced Maurice White to Philip Bailey, Larry Dunn, and Andrew Woolfolk, who never left the group in its heyday. They formed the permanent lineup, and they were 10 years younger than Maurice White.
mm,
So Maurice White, by 1975, had already had 10 years of worldly experience, of travel, of knowing what backbeats were, seeing the change in the world after Vietnam, post Martin Luther King assassination, during the Richard Nixon era, and was able to change with the times. The music had changed big time from the late 60s to the early 70s. So my point is, had Maurice White if he did not continue to transform and grow, we would be without the benefit of the juggernaut group Earth, Wind, and Fire and all that they produced. And in 1975, Earth, Wind, and Fire went double platinum in the same year, and no other, they went triple platinum. And they came out with another album at the end of the year to commemorate and thank everybody for helping them to go triple platinum in the same year. No other Black group went platinum in the same year. So they took a giant quantum leap over, no disrespect to the other groups, but to Kool and the Gang, War, Mandrill, Funkadelic, Parliament, Commodores, every group that was in existence, every Black melanated group. And the reason that he was able to do that was because he inducted, to my count, these 5 different things that nobody else did. And he heavily into another discussion. But
you went out for a second. Hello?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, yes.
Okay.
All right.
So, to answer your question.
You said there was 5 things though. Are you gonna run through those, or we're gonna leave that as a cliffhanger?
I could. Okay. So
because I'm into it.
Okay, so one of the things he did was he got rid of his former manager. No disrespect to Jim Brown, because Jim Brown was a juggernaut in his own right, but he had a lot of other things going on. So he hired Bob Cavallo and Jim Ruffalo as management. Then he got off of he got off of his older label, Warner Brothers, onto a full service label of Columbia under the auspices of Clive Davis before the whole Diddy thing. Clive Davis signed Aerosmith, a lot of groups. He gave them the light of day. Also, the dearly departed Angela Bofield, he gave her a shot, and Phyllis Hyman. Those are secular things.
Yes, he did.
The third thing that he did was, again, he inducted a permanent horn section called the Phoenix Horns that went on to play later on for Phil Collins, and they also did the soundtracks for different films and things like that. That was number 3. Number 4, he hired his younger brother, Freddie. He brought Freddie into the group. Now, Earth, Wind, and Fire was a group of musicians. Maurice White was a very successful musician. Ralph Johnson was the actual drummer of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Philip Bailey came into the group to play percussion, not to be a singer. So it was a percussionist group. Al McKay, who played the rhythm guitar, also played the drums. So the 5th and final, not final because there were more, but we'll get it. Matter of fact, let me give you 2 more. Another thing that he did was he brought in George Massenburg, who was a musical engineer that was very young at the time. He came from Paris. He had to send for him, and back then we didn't have emails, and so it took 6 months sometimes for a call or some type of correspondence to be gotten from your reach out to Europe back then. So he got George Massenburg. Now, George Massenburg was taking apart the 24-track console board and making innovations in sound, polyphonically and sonically, things that had never been done before. This guy, George Massenburg, was doing that with the Way of the World album. So when we listen to Shining Star, which was the one song that jettisoned them onto the pop charts, R&B chart, 3 different charts, and went number 1, kicked down the door to their success. Shining Star wasn't even 3 minutes long, but it had 5 different musical genres morph into this song. And that's what kicked down the door to Earth, Wind, and Fire. And the last thing that I'll talk about, which is the 6th thing, the 6th example, he went back to hire George Stepney, who was the one that gave Earth, Wind, and Fire their true DNA. George Stepney was the one that wrote out the musical arrangements of the horns, the orchestra, the woodwinds. He had music clashing with the arpeggios of going up and down the musical scales at the same time. If you want to hear a great example of it, there's a song called See the Light, which is the last song on that album. You will hear musical mastery and genius. And this was a black man at the age of 41 that was writing out these musical charts and was able to induct bebop, soul, jazz, world music, African music, salsa, and blues grass music, and synergize it and turn it into something that we've never heard before. That was the success of Earth, Wind, and Fire. So again, if Maurice White stopped unfolding, as you say, like an onion, and exploring the layers of his depth, and stop building and hearing and traveling and bringing back all of the things that he learned from traveling around the world, he would not have been able to synergize it and put it into Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I'm constantly studying their music, their successes, their failures. And somewhere on the planet, every 6 seconds, somebody is playing an Earth, Wind, and Fire record. And it's an amazing testament of the precipice of what you were saying about constantly evolving.
As a person who has a backdrop in the arts, do you see a correlation between composers and engineers? You know, and as a social scientist, right? As a social, what they had different terms that they call us these days. It was explained to me as a social scientist that in order to reverse the things that we find ourselves in, I think that I was speaking to our good brother Turtle Gang, and he was speaking about the need and the necessity. We were speaking to what's our good brother with the shy lock. There was shout out Harlem. What's our brother's name read again? I don't know. I'm forgetting my brother's name. But nonetheless, he was speaking about the need, Shaka Atmos, to make an
Shout
observation
out to Shaka
of the
and Turtle.
situation that we were going through. Look at it through the eyes of engineers in order to reverse engineer it. Now, when you speak about music and compositions, and the fact that they have to pull together so many different units, right? That seemingly would seem to be unrelated, but they somehow manage to, work together, not necessarily clash, but synergistically work together. Do you see similarities, across your talent spectrum of working with artists that composers can get the job done?
Well, there definitely is a synergy with composers and engineers, but the difference between back engineering and being the one who actually has engineered what is back engineered is that you can back engineer anything. So the difference between people who study the mathematics of what athletes do, ergo Stephen A. Smith, Stephen Curry might not be able to tell you why he knows why certain balls bounce on a certain floor in wood in a different fashion than if he were in a different state. He wouldn't be able to break down the trajectory of why he's able to get certain shots, and he just does it. I heard Phil Valentine say a long time ago, shout out to Phil, love you, Phil. He said that, people that can do things do it, and people who can't do it, something that I'm paraphrasing, they study it, they announce it, but we as a people are the mathematics that is studied across the board. So they could always show up to band. I get a laugh out of this, no disrespect to our lighter complected people, the Caucasians, but when I go to BAM, Brooklyn Academy of Music, I always get a laugh out of how they show up when the dance circles and the drumming circles are going on, and it's us that are doing the dances, and they just have to get themselves in there and show that, hey, I could do this too. And I just giggle at it, like, like the break dancing, she did all of this
girl
stuff
from the Olympics.
It was ridiculous, But I think she feels entitled because she has a PhD in it, like that means something. So she has to back engineer what she thinks hip hop is, and then give her representation, her soulless representation of it, which is a mockery and a joke to me. But you can't back engineer the divine spark that went into the ingenuity of the original concept and precepts of it. You can teach it, but if you're not the author of that origin, it's only going to be an imitation of a back engineered impetus. And that would, be what I have to say to that.
Excellent summation, excellent observation. I was speaking to another friend of yours, brother by the name of RZA, and this was maybe '05 or '06. I forget what year exactly. And we were at the Wu offices on 34th Street, and he was telling me about the 3-year plan that turned into the 5-year plan that he figured out really had to be a 7-year plan. And this plan that our good brother was speaking about was the commitment that he originally got the initial members of the Wu-Tang Clan to, quote unquote, make a vow to, if you will, agree upon, saying that they was going to entrust this man with 3 years that was necessary for him to fulfill his dream and his vision. He shared with me a deep story about him wanting to get the original device made that ended up becoming Serato. And again, as a composer with an engineer mind, he thought mathematically that he can figure out how to make this particular device, only to find out that they put him in the wait line for screws, and it was a 2-year wait line because although he had a grand vision, um, for him to implement this vision and bring it to reality, it required a level of capital where he was now in competition with the people that were in line for $20 million worth of screws, $200 million worth of screws. So something
Wow.
as simple
Wow.
as a screw took him out the game, messed up his investment that he had got because he said Sony had gave him that upfront money that they owed in royalties. He pieced them off, and he figured that he could flip it on the investment on technology, on hardware, and then caught a L. And I think that L resulted in a lot of other things somewhat maybe being destabilized in terms of the investment capital for the group. And salute to that brother, you know what I'm saying, for just being the visionary that he is and willing as a leader to attempt to make a way with intellectual capital for his team that in the long run they're all going to benefit from in perpetuity,
Right.
right? Um, so as somebody who was physically there, able to bear witness to the genius of this brother, who, like I said, I consider a composer and an engineer, and someone who has exhibited leadership in our lifetime. Leadership, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that it was not a layup. I know that it was not easy, and only from the outside looking in, we see that there's constantly, a revisiting of things that need to be done, to massage over previous pains or what have you. Can you speak to that very briefly, if possible?
What aspect
I wanted you to speak to again the genius of the brother RZA, who I would consider a composer, an engineer, and a leader in his respective right. You know,
Right.
how does a Stapleton project or a Park Hill project produce an individual that is multi-tiered and talented to this degree? And what else can possibly be in those projects if we were able to scrape a Raheem the Dream off of those walls?
Right, right. I would say, knowing RZA personally as a friend, and he actually, came to Staten Island with his family. Well, first of all, RZA comes from a really large family. Has a
Yes.
lot of brothers and 2 sisters, and he's very, very much a family man. And there's a very interesting parallel with Maurice White and him. I think they both have the same amount of siblings to the degree of the same brothers and the same amount of sisters. So I find that, and 9 members in the clan, official members, and 9 members in Wu-Tang. So that's another decode video that I have to do one day. But to speak to the genius of RZA in particular, he's very, very driven, and he's not afraid to experiment with his creativity. One of the things that I'd say I've had the really good fortune of being able to travel with him literally all around the world. And, we've been from everywhere from Belgrade, Serbia to Dubai, all throughout Europe, all throughout South America, and the reaction to the audience on or with the audience is always the same, whether it's a 15,000 seat arena or a larger arena that may have 30,000 seats. We were in Chile not that long ago when we were on a South American tour, and I think Chile was the largest date that we had. They were in an arena, and one of the things I do after I come from sound check, I like to be there at sound check, listen to the acoustics, and look around the audience that's not there, just see what it's like. And I also have a lot of this film. When on show night and it's jam packed, I be in front, and I also go to the furthest reaches of the audience, the nosebleed seats, and I just watch the people and how they're reacting to the music. And the people are reaching out. A lot of them are singing every word, but they may not understand English. But there was one night in particular where uh, every show is different. And I saw RZA doing like kind of like a Tai Chi one day where he had the entire audience of Chile doing like this wave. And I sat back and watched it like, wow, this is really powerful. And RZA was just like, he has eyes closed and he was doing this and just making these waves in the audience. And this lasted for about 3 minutes. Audience was in perfect synergy and harmony. And I told him at the end of the show, we go into the room, the war room after the end of the show, and everybody goes in and they talk about the highs and lows of, what they would like to adjust and high notes and they compare notes. But I told him that night, I said, man, and he didn't even remember because he was in another place consciously where he probably doesn't even remember all of the things that happened. And I'll say this for the entire Wu-Tang Clan, a lot of them do things that I've never seen them do before when they're on the stage, but they become something else when they're up there. And that is a service to the audience and they're exchanging energies. It's a give and take thing. It's really, really beautiful to see. But with RZA in particular, he brings a family dynamic to the group. He also brings in, and I also have to shout out Divine Mitchell Diggs, his older brother, who really is a lot of, he's behind a lot of the business. He's the one that makes a lot of things happen behind the scenes. So they bring about a family dynamic and a unified dynamic, which I really, really respect. We were at the Wu Mansion a few weeks ago to celebrate RZA's birthday, as a matter of fact. So we had, various family and friends there. And, I got a chance to meet some of his daughters that I didn't even know that he had, because RZA has a lot of children. He has me beat, and they're beautiful. So it was good to see all of these people. We still play poker with his father and his son. So he's very, very tightly knit with his family, as he is with Wu-Tang Clan. For 9 alpha males to continue to work together and respect one another and be able to laugh and joke with one another after all of these years that's a miracle within itself. So, I'm kind of that.
Yeah, I mean that is an amazing perspective, to bear witness to up front. That's an amazing opportunity to have an intimate relationship with an individual, like you said, that reminds you of another individual that inspired your journey. The fullness of being the fulcrum in the middle that get to observe these things from, both measurements is within itself an amazing thing, and you are highly accomplished yourself. So we're speaking about a myriad, a circle of men who came out of the slums, as you said, of Shaolin, the wilderness of North America, and look at us now. The
Right.
value that we put on the seniority. I wouldn't even say aging. The fact that we have crossed the 50-year mark. It was in none of our music. We didn't speak about it. The only 50-year-old we know was the drunk man on the corner,
Right.
or the absentee father. Now there's a lot of healing that, again, I admit that I see this taking place, even though I'm looking for it from a distance. When I saw you last year on tour with those brothers, and I know what they were internally going through, and the TV show was showing some of it in real time, the backdrop of it, you know what I'm saying, or maybe some of the origin points of what has festered on later in years that we were bore witness to online. I saw a lot of healing taking place. At least that's what it looked like. I want you to speak to, and again, as someone who understands the transfer of energy, someone who understands spirit, and someone who understands, the fact that these people they're getting in front of hundreds of thousands of people, country to country, day after day. That energy exchange. What does it look like in the ethereal realm? And if an artist becomes a healed artist, if an artist becomes a healed Chiron, a wounded healer that has been healed, a open heart, you know, like, let's just be real. Let's just say what we seeing. Now, let me not do that, because
Now go for it, man. Go for it. And
what
if
we
I can't
saw
speak
RZA and
about,
Raekwon go through, right? What we saw
right,
RZA and
right.
Raekwon go through specifically, right? And then I saw the family come together to celebrate Raekwon at his wedding. I saw intimate moments. I saw the family support Raekwon when the book was released. I saw a lot of growth in what looked like a brotherly repairing of respect, if you will, right? Does that translate into an audience when an artist's heart is open and healed, and the true receptivity of family, brotherhood, and authenticity is embraced? Can we send these wounded healers across the planet on a mission of healing and spreading light if the frequency of the music is consistent with the message?
I would say that it is possible for everything that the artist engenders in terms of morality and character, it does go out into their prospective audience and into the fields of how people will perceive them. Case in point, I think what's happening now in 2024, going into 2025, there's a preface on character, and people are now starting to be less distracted by the presentation of the celebrity and more appreciative of the character that went into making the celebrity. So when you go back to Raekwon the chef, shout out to Ray. Ray is not somebody that holds his tongue. He's somebody that's very vocal about things. Him and I used to argue all the time about, when I was on Oz, he got at me because he's like, Gano, you Wu-Tang, you can't let these people be doing stuff to you like this and da da da. And I had to explain to him, I said, Ray, I'm an actor, man. I'm not a rapper like you guys. So I have to fall in line with whatever the character has to do, be it good, bad, or ugly, or whatever. There's a difference there. But I understood his heart and where he was coming from. And if Ray has a disagreeing factor, Ray is probably one of the most brutally honest people, talking about keeping it a buck. Doesn't matter who it is, he's going to let you have it. And I've been on both sides of that. RZA, on the other hand, I've seen him be, you never see RZA hot and bothered. I've never seen RZA like get angry and out of his mind. I actually saw, and if he gets mad at me, I'll have to deal with you privately, RZA. You're my brother and I love you. But I remember one time there was a show, and Unique A's son, ODB, he was at the other side of the bar, and he was like, him and RZA got into a heated discussion, but RZA was more listening. And ODB was giving out a lot of energy, and he was cursing up and down, and RZA just stood there like this, and he was just taking it all in. And I stood there and I was waiting for RZA to strike back. He never did it. He just listened to what ODB was saying, and it made me want to cry, because I didn't understand the passivity of what RZA was doing, and they had to go on stage like right after that. And it gave me a look at the strength that it takes for an individual to be able to absorb that kind of viscosity, for lack of a better term, and then still be able to alchemically turn it into something that is palpable, to the audience. So my point is, all of us disagree. I've had fisticuffs with my brothers at times, and then the next day it's It's nothing. You know, we could argue, we could agree to disagree, but it's like with brothers. Brothers do that. Family, there's always a level of dysfunctionality to varying degrees in all families, all clans, all dynasties, all lineages. But the mature aspect is being able to deal with it for what it is and always go back to the foundation, which is love. You know, family is inextricably, it's immutable, it's irremovable. We're not going to throw each other in the garbage. So if I have to get in your face and express my point of view, we can do that and we're not going to go past a certain point, but sometimes things need to be articulated with respect and love or with vitriol. But now that we got that off, we can go back to doing whatever we need to do. And I think that's one of the things that keeps the clan able to continue to function, because none of those brothers are holding anything back, and that's the level of respect that they have, you know, for each other.
Right. So you again, you have been able to bear witness to the confluence of our people coming together in clans and cliques and clubs and things of that nature, in different iterations of how we show up as people. You've seen it through, hip hop. You've seen it through the entertainment field in terms of acting. I'm sure that you've seen it through aspects of our street culture. In comparison to what you've seen in the conscious community, how does that fare? Because I've noticed a tendency. I've been in some of the darkest places on the planet, and I have received some of the most love, loyalty, upright integrity, believe it or not, righteousness. Did I say loyalty again? Yeah,
Yes,
where
yeah,
the
loyalty's
the
big.
the
Huge.
the threat of disloyalty would be immediate death. Um,
Right.
that there is honor amongst thieves because they really do trust one another with their lives and everything that they value. And
Hmm.
there's a trust factor. Like everyone is looking for love to some degree. But yet in consciousness, it does not seem to, play by the same rules as these different world settings that I've been part of or what have you. The ones that they look down on the most in society have been the ones that were the most upright,
Hmm.
whereas the ones who promote themselves as the most upright and upstanding have been the ones that are most crooked, and inept of love, incapable of love, unwilling to love, all of these things. So, have you had similar observations, and do you have any insight and discourse, our good brother?
That was very abstract and vague. So I can answer the question, but I'm going to need you to commit to being quite didactic and literal with what
Okay.
exactly. I'm gonna need you to keep it a whole buck.
I like that, didactic and literal, because I can become aloof sometimes and speak in abstract terms because I'm in the pool of emotions and I'm like, ugh, let me get up out of here. But
Right.
let me be a little bit more direct.
Yes.
Again, with a lot of the different schools and worlds that you have traveled through, your time that has been spent in the conscious community, do you feel that you can apply some of the same things that you learned, and can you put your guard down in the same way and trust peace that the people who say that they're about peace will come around to peace someday in some ways? What I'm really wanting to know is, do you have any suggestions about how the conscious community can self-realize the peace, love, and light that it has built itself upon?
I feel like and I like to speak experientially. There are people,
Absolutely.
everyone is at a different degree in their own character. I look at character as a ladder. Some people are on the lower rungs of development in their character. I could see that straight away. There are some people that I come across. I could always see, and I hope we don't get. I could always see an unaliver. I know killers when I see them. I know hitters when I see them. There's a very specific resonance and color that comes with them, and I like to observe how they move and how they interface with things. There are people that have undergone a lot of heartache, betrayal, which is the opposite of loyalty. And it hardens them and it makes them become wired a certain way to where they can't trust anyone. They can't receive trust or give trust because they themselves have had trust taken away from them. So it really does vary, and you have to be, I think it's important to have a firm foundation on your own so that you can go into your bag and be able to deal with all kinds of people that come from all kinds of experiences, because no one is the same. There are some people that mistakenly think that we're all one, we're all the same, and this is the furthest thing from the truth. So you have to be diversified enough in order to be able to discern who it is that you can give your more of yourself to, who warrants the best of what you have to offer, because you can't give that to just anybody. One of the reasons why I don't stream as much Blue Pill is because I feel like if people are not willing to come physically to where I am presenting the information, then you don't deserve to have it. If you're not willing to get on a train, plane, automobile and pay for it, because let's keep it a buck, I can give this stuff away. I did for a long time for free and nobody cared about it. People were like, oh, that's, psychologically people think that, or certain kinds of people think that if something doesn't have a certain price tag on it, that it's not worth anything. It took for me to charge an exorbitant amount of money for some of the best educational tools that I have. And I was challenged to do that by a white woman who went through my website and said, and this was before Sri Master, she's still a very close friend of mine. She said, Gano, you're afraid to make money. And I'm like, well, it's not about the money. I'm not doing this for the money. She said, yeah, but what you're doing costs money. Don't you go out of the country? Don't you have products? Don't you have a whole line? I'm like, yeah. So who's paying for that? I'm like, well, I said, you need to charge more for what you're doing. And I learned this on 444 Atlantic Avenue when we first started speaking there publicly, Blue Pill. Remember that? And there was another sister named Delia. Thank you for her. I was charging $30 for a workshop back then. Remember that? And she said, you need to charge more for that because you're giving way too much. You should charge that. Remember that? We were getting like vegan lunches and all of that.
Remember your heart being in it and wanting to keep those doors open. I remember the flagship. I remember all of the love, that was initially poured into it. And I remember as well, I always felt, for some reason, I would go to 444 and I would think east-west. And I'd be like, right across the bridge in the village, they selling this.
Ain't that something?
For thousands of dollars.
Thousands. You know what I mean?
So it's like thousands of dollars right across the bridge.
Yeah. My partner Liz, she's a painter, and I've sold paintings very, very expensive. She's, I just want my stuff. I'm like, why don't you charge more for your paintings? And he said, well, I just want my stuff to get out there. And I'm like, it'll get out there, but if you don't put some value on yourself and the time that you put into this artistry, why should anybody else feel that this is a valuable thing? You know what I mean? And energy does translate. It does correspond. It does attach itself. Not that you have to gouge or anything, but everything is reciprocity. So, I've learned that I learned to place a higher value on what it is that I offer to people because I know it works. And I see the evidence of how people use it on how well they're doing, how they're challenged and things like that. So, to answer your question, beloved, it's very important to realize, and within the conscious community, I've met some people, everybody doesn't talk the talk, walk the walk. That's everywhere you go. The human stain is pervasive and it pervades wherever you go on the planet. But the barometer and the buoy of how you navigate within the ocean of that symbiosis is to become the most organized, the best discerning vessel that you can be, so that you can literally deal with it as it happens. One of the reasons why I continue to go on tour with Wu-Tang Clan is because I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to travel internationally. I'm still learning how to connect with the audience and the people that can be boots on the ground. I learn a lot of even watching how the clan interacts with each other, because what I've learned from my brothers is, we've all known each other for 40 plus years. But what's funny about them is you can never color outside the lines. And what that means is, like Ghostface in particular, he's not someone Ghost is very regimented. He's not somebody that you could approach sideways. He's not somebody that you could joke with. A lot of them are like that. And as long as we know each other, you have to deal with them in a certain kind of way. And then after being with each other for a couple of hours, you may be able to relax a little bit. But it's a constant lesson in being able to deal with poise, composure, decorum, and respect for other people. And what I learned, I bring back into what it is that I do. And I see the lack of decorum in other circles. I see where there's a breakdown in communication or character. Character is a big thing. I'm very big on character, Blue. And when I see that there's a lack in character, or I see where people fail, or people don't keep their word, or people don't put specificity on being on time or timely. If we say we're going to start at 2:00 and we're not there, and you don't do anything to make up for that, all of these things go back into your inability to manifest or speak things into existence. So when people, like, I use words of power always. When I'm going to sleep, there are 5 words of power that I say out loud. Sometimes I just say it in my head, but it happens. And it allows me to open up the doorways on the astral planes, the hyperdimensions, in the duat, and sometimes the divine worlds, and look at what is going on there. If I cursed and used profanity, I would not be able to utilize words of power, because it takes the power out of the pristinity and the octane of jettisoning your consciousness onto these domains. If I said something that I didn't mean, or I beguiled people, or if I was dishonest in any way, I would not have the power to do some of the things that I've illustrated to my community and to my people to build trust. If I did anything to tarnish the trust and the respect or the belief, I would not be able to be a divine avatar of other gods who have entrusted me with disseminating certain information in a responsible fashion. I used to get on Brother Panic, we would talk sometimes, and I would say, you're putting out a lot of stuff, and some of the things that you're teaching about and you're putting it out there publicly, there is, there's a repercussion, because you can't teach calculus, base theory, thermodynamics to a kindergarten mind. And if someone takes some of what you have, and I'm paraphrasing now, and they split the atom to the left and creates nuclear fission instead of nuclear fusion, nuclear fission, splitting the atom to the left, which is the wrong way, is what perishes and destroys worlds, or planets, excuse me, because worlds aren't destroyed. Planets are. There are a lot of planets that were in existence in this particular galaxy, and everybody gets to the point of what you call the atomic age. And the atomic age is where you start experimenting with the atom. And you can only split the atom one of 2 ways. So if you split the atom the wrong way, there goes your whole reality. So back to your point, it's important to continue to comport and walk a specific path. But the further you get on that path, the more is going to be called for you to be in uniform and in tandem with what is required with the depth of how far you are on the path. You can't do things willy-nilly, and things have to have a certain set of decorum. This is why the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension is separated by a barrier, because you don't belong in the 7th dimension. You belong here. You're supposed to be here. The duat is separated from the divine world, because the people who did not practice in life and connect with certain beings that will claim them at the end of their last physical breath, you have to go to the duat for reprocessing. But then the people that started working in life while they were breathing the prana of the sun and start connecting with these beings consciously, now they have a doorway that opens up to them, and they could possibly get on. Not only that, but your consciousness has to transform, because consciousness is something that dictates where you're going to go when you leave here. You start practicing it in your dreams and in your meditations. But from what I see, there's a lot of people that aren't doing that because they're putting all of their attention in the wake state and not much preface in what they do when they put their eyes down and basically experiment where they're going. So if people don't remember their dreams, or if people have fuzziness in their dreams, that means that's an indicator of exactly what will happen when you cease to continue to breathe. You will go back into that state. But if your dreams are extremely clear and you can walk through your dreams and you're conscious and bring this consciousness there, that's a great indicator that you have succeeded in being able to traverse in where you deserve to. But I don't want to go off on a tangent.
Man, you went and hit a lot of different points in that bill just now. And even to the point that, my very first question that I initially wrote for you was about profanity. I wrote it, it was preference. It said curses versus logos. Um, and one arc said making new words, because I wanted to speak about that, because we be making up new words. And
All the
then
time.
the other thing that I wanted to speak about is being, speaking out of name and character. And I want to get a chance to speak on that. Is it a possibility to speak somebody out of their name, or if their character unbecomes a name or title that they choose? Because a lot of people are taking on names of deities that they're not initiated to, and they're not doing it in the proper format. I wanted to speak about the damage that they may be doing to themselves in that respect. But before we hit on that, I did want you, because I have taken what I consider to be a profanity pledge. I hope that Red is on this. I need him to hear this. I wanted you to speak to the sanctity of utilizing profanity and how that may block other channels of communication on a spiritual level. And I also wanted you to speak to it in terms of global artistry. When these artists are traveling the world, you
Right.
know, how are they being received when they use vernacular that's considered to be profanity, especially in countries like the UAE or Dubai, where they have restrictions on how you can use your tongue, because the West has you marvel to think that you can go and say anything anywhere around the world, and that's not the case. Pardon.
Right. Well, let's deal with what happens when you use explicatives like the F bomb or the sugar honey iced tea. Sometimes the punctuation of that verbiage at a certain time, the oxytocin of its contort out of your mouth, it feels good because it highlights the need of expression in a very unique way. But what happens when you do that is, let's get back to the etymology of the meaning. Because of the way the F bomb, most of the time when people use the F bomb, it is not in an endearing way. The original energy and origin of that word, and because of the feeling that has gone into every time it has been used, it creates a bank of energy that caustically affects you every time you use it. No matter whether or not you mean it in an endearing term or not, there's a bank of energy that has been poured into by people for over 100 years, way before you even knew what the word was. So that energy curses you before it even punctuates the meaning of why you used it in the first place. And in terms of, it's not something that you could overturn just because you say, well, I didn't mean it like that. It doesn't matter. The meaning of the energy of its origin has already infected you for 72 hours. You will not be able to use a hekau or a divine utterance or a particular mantra or word of power or sequence of power or divine commanded power, because if you do try to use that energy will distort, and now you're basically punching a clock of negative karma of everything that was created by that distortion. So that's something that I teach in terms of using words of power. In terms of on a world stage, when people use those explicatives, again, there's no one that really is impugned by the end result of what that means, unless you really are someone that is versed as a high priest or an alchemist. And there are things that you have already done, like long vows of silence, certain sacred things where you have sacrificed certain things to bypass you to those actual physical laws of repercussions and ramifications of using that. I haven't taught people how to do that because I think the basics are important first. So when I had to learn how to uncurse, it took me 3 months, Blue. It took me 3 months to discipline myself, to hear myself speak and get all of the explicatives out of my vernacular. Then when I saw how the words of power actually do work through a very specific set of acumen, why would I continue to curse when I could use words of power and it does all of these things for me? I didn't really go backwards. So that's the benefit of it. It always affects the individual first. You can't bless someone without blessing yourself first. You also cannot curse someone without cursing yourself first. And a lot of times people feel, well, I didn't feel anything. My house didn't burn down. But you also create a wasteland where all of those negative thoughts, energies, actions, and deeds go into. And when it spills over out of the chalice of your personal wasteland, a lot of times it's something that you may not live through. If you look at, I'm going to say Meg Thee Stallion. Meg Thee Stallion is someone who has botted her way into success. I think Spotify allegedly, and all of this is alleged, right? So, don't get mad. But 30 million streams, you got caught trying to trick people into thinking that you were something that you weren't. Do you not think that that has a repercussion? When people fudge their numbers and want people to think that they have 10 million followings, but then when you go on their post and you see that there's only 5 likes, but you have 1 million followers, oh, you fudged your numbers. You wanted people to think that you had a larger following than what you had. Now, for people who are somewhat erudite and intermediate, they're looking at you now, they're looking at your character. Well, why would you do that? Why do you want people to think that you're something that you're not? These are the things that come into bear when collectively people may not tell you, but they have their silent thoughts. When you look at J-Lo, allegedly, and the things that she is alleged to have done in terms of indiscriminately taking people's lyrics and pontificating it as her own. Now everything she does is met with a backlash because you spent $20 million on a movie where you wanted people to buy into the greatest love story about you and Ben Affleck. And meanwhile, you guys got divorced. So you're trying to cram something down our throats. People already didn't buy into it, but that's a masterclass on its own. And all of this stuff goes back into who is the character of the being that I am following? Why would I follow them if their character is flawed? The basic mechanics of who they are, how they keep or not keep their word, how they do certain things, that very much goes into how people feel about you and how they deal with you and how your environment and how your beings also decide not to deal with you because they see you have not built your character to a point where they can entrust you with their power.
I mean, that's powerful, and you would hit upon that again, coming from an acting background, and what we saw last year was pretty much a meltdown of the iconoclast. People who held certain ideas and thoughts about certain beings and figures, icons, if you will. When you buy into a character that is being articulated on screen or even in a public persona as an avatar, as an artist, right? Because I mean, we don't speak about the fact that artistic license gives an artist a right to embellish. Artistic license gives an artist the ability to be an artist, and you can paint in any color that you desire. The world is your canvas. what do we stand to benefit and what do we stand to lose by buying into the artist? Do you buy into the shadow that comes behind that door that goes along with the artist? When we bought into Heath Ledger as the Joker, were we buying into all of the traumatic training that Heath Ledger had to go through to break himself down and become different versions of himself, alters, if you will, to go into that deep psychosis place that was needed and necessitated for him to land the character of the Joker? So, same with these rap artists that may have been involved and engaged in some things that were uncomplimentary for the character that they were personifying in public, right? When come to find out that their secret and their private character is a lot less illustrious, again, are people walking away with spiritual staff diseases because of some of these characters that they're buying into?
Absolutely. I would say that when you look at pastors, preachers,
Yes.
and a lot of the musicians are out there, they're one and the same. They control a large audience. They are a pied piper. But unfortunately, artistry is, there is a dichotomy with that. If someone gives an artist $40 million and makes her the Pied Piper and says, now I want you to go out there and I want you to create a following, and you come out with this album. And, we know of a Latina, I'm not going to say her name, but her name begins with a C. And she says whatever comes to her mind, and she can't seem to keep her family together. She has a lovely, beautiful, beautiful children. And I guess she has a level of talent, but she's being used as a pawn and she doesn't see it. But she is under the guise or the title of being an artist. But what's happening is she's piping a lot of young ladies, a lot of girls are patterning themselves after her bad behavior, her lack of decorum. And because she is someone who's been given a lot of money and people are following her, she's leading people down a downward spiral. And she's calling herself a liberator of women. There's a few women that are doing that. So they'll throw a lot of money at you and say, hey, do this, talk about drugs, talk about sex. Meanwhile, the fallout or the repercussion of that is you'll get a lot of these children to have children out of wedlock, that just have indiscriminate sex now. And also there's a drug culture that's in tandem with that. But this person who was the artist is going to get the karmic backlash that's associated with her or them being the Pied Piper and leading people down a particular, I call it trap music because I see it as a trap. It's something that's being weaponized against our people first, because you have other people that are able to tap in and, dance to it and have a good time. And then they go back into their position in society and they could look, right. And we're the only people that are trying to live out a thought form that is not real. It's a mirage. It's foolish. So we have to be careful with the word artist, because the things that come with artistry. Now, when I was an actor, I considered myself a true artist because I never got into becoming an actor for the fame or the money or anything that came with it. I simply enjoyed the process of taking a script, developing a character in art, conflict resolution, protagonist, antagonist, using certain techniques, whether it was method acting or being Stanislavski or Meisner or Adler. I studied it all, and it went into my performance. And I enjoyed when people would come up to me and say, hey, I really enjoyed the performance. It did something for me. I didn't care about the fame or any of that stuff. And if I paid to do what I was doing, that would be fine. I did a lot of for free, and we would be for hours a day, and we would get $50 at the end of it. So it wasn't about that. That is what a true artist is. Somebody who does what they do and they're motivated by love and respect for the creativity of their divine spark. Not somebody that chases the clout and the fame and the fortune and the money and the likes and all of those. That is the wrong from which to utilize your creative spark. So I'm not sure it's your question, but I ask people that come to me for advice, why are you doing this? Why do you want to be an artist? Why do you want to be an actor? Why do you want to be a way? Are you doing it for the money? If you're doing it for the money, I would disdain you against it, because what you're going to go through is not enough to fuel the difficulty that you're going to have realizing desire. I would tell anyone and everyone, find out what you love to do and do that. And if you love it enough, it will pay you back all of the time and then some that you've poured into it.
Which leads us to our next question. The reason why we're here, you know, life within itself, you know, these days the youngsters love saying life is lifing. And there's a difficulty factor that comes along with that for some reason. In 2024, life seems to be lifing for people in ways in which it's never life before. And they're feeling the pressures of life. They're feeling the pain of unpredictability and unpreparation. A lot of the life lessons that were taught to us are, you know, people are needing to fast track it real quick because anyone who has been pretty much, you know, living in a false paradigm, they're getting rude awakenings right now.
That's right.
Life within itself is hard enough lifing, just landing this human thing. And here we are, a few days away from an upcoming seminar here in the city of Atlantis, where you will be coming forward and showing people applicable tools for them to actually step into the guarding aspect of this life that we are all intimately living. This bliss and this benefaction, this thing that I'm so grateful. I don't even, I've created a new word. It's gratitude. I mean, I cannot put
I
into
like
language how
I like
excited I am when my eyelids open at 3:33 a.m. every morning when my alarm goes off, and just the anticipation to get into that gym and again, you know, meet aspects of myself that I need to have the most intimate, you know how to be like wrestling with the angels, that part.
right.
So with life seeming that is so challenging for people landing the humanistic aspects of what it entails these days, where do you get the veracity to come forward with lessons on how to God in this realm, in this age, and in this day and age that we're in, good brother?
Was that a question?
Yes,
I didn't get the question. I'm sorry. I
it
was
was
listening.
didactic. It was
Yeah.
didactic, and
It wasn't
it
didactic
was
enough.
didactic and literal. And I landed it. I said, you know, with the complexities of, you know, people just figuring out everyday humanistic living these days, you know, where they're gonna pay their next bill from, and you know who to vote for and things of that nature, because you know these are some of the things that they're entertaining. I said, where do you get the veracity to come in the midst of that and
Oh,
show people that there's a step forward, there's a step higher, you know, that third step that they get on at the Olympics to get the medal, they're like, no, there's
yes.
a step above that.
Yes, yes. Well, where I get the audacity to, who do you think you are to, in the midst of all of this stuff, and you're going to come in there and, have apotheosis and the awakenings, and they'll try to, what is all of this? I am simply doing my job and what I was asked to do during this time. Where, I was on with King Simon, Carrie Ann, just last night, as a matter of fact, and, I was saying that right now we're in a fight, a major, a spiritual war called Ragnarok. These are the times of Ragnarok, and what's happening is the denizens of this planet, their soul is being fought for, and there is a desire to overtake the 9 realms of Asgard with darkness. I'm already seeing that take hold. The reasons that we're having this seminar weekend is to get people an alternative cause and purpose, which is to shoot higher, take yourself off of the trajectory of HDE, which is the Human Default Program. And
Human Default Program, okay.
HDE, no, HDP, excuse me. The Human Default Program was something that was built into the human aperture of being by the demigod, the biblical demigods. So we don't really recognize pattern recognition because we only live to 160 years. Not. We don't live 200, 400, 600, 800 years like we used to. We used to live thousands of years prior to the times of Atlantis. And all of those, the lifespan has been cut down because pattern recognition begins at 200 years. And it's ironic that there's not many people that live that long. So the purpose of this seminar is to give people the kind of education that will allow them to begin to work on the possibility of you hopefully being able to become a god one day with a little g, meaning no longer human. No disrespect to the 5% nation, peace to the gods and the earths. But we're not talking about that kind of God. We're talking about a being that recognizes all of their lifetimes. We're talking about someone who can stop time, someone who can manipulate time, someone who can operate consciously outside of the time-space vacuum, someone who can go backwards and forwards in time, in real time, instantly, someone who can be on different dimensions of reality at the same time and create and do lots of those things. And there are some people that may be listening now and say, I could do all of that. That's not true. You cannot, because if you could do that, there would be no reason for you to be here. You wouldn't want to be here because this is the North Korea of the galaxy. So one of the things I would say, if you look at certain places on the planet, like as beautiful as Haiti is, Haiti right now, from what I hear, certain places in Haiti are very, very difficult to live within. There are certain gangs and that are running certain parts of Haiti, and you better watch your step when you're out there. If you go to certain places in the Congo, you just wouldn't be able to walk around freely out there if you're not connected with certain denizens of that land. You definitely can't come and go in and out of North Korea. North Korea doesn't have any internet. Everyone thinks that Kim Jong-un is a god. Everyone thinks that he is sent here to basically give them sustenance. So when I look at planet Earth and certain aspects of it, this is a place of grave limitation. We have to go to bed every 36 hours at least. We have to watch our bodies or else it will decay. We have to do certain things and put certain nutrients and electricity in our body in order for it to function properly. We have to breathe. We have to blink. We can't consciously breathe underwater. We cannot fly consciously through the air. Now, again, there are some people that I could do all of those things. I doubt it. So I would just say that I am going to teach people how to possibly bring about the transformative process of you becoming a god through a very specific means of education. That is the seminar called Apotheosis, which will be happening Friday, August the 30th in Atlanta, Georgia. The next day on Saturday, I'm going to be presenting Ultrana Hata, which is a healing modality that is 100 times more powerful than Reiki. And lots of people are Reiki masters, but this is very, very different. And it's taken me the better part of 13 years to create the sequencing and the power that comes from the celestial points in the galaxy, in the cosmos, to be able to utilize and wield that energy. September the 1st, we will be doing a seminar called the Awakenings Seminar, and it means just that. There are a lot of people that need to be awakened out of the condition that they are currently in. And having this awakening will give you a brand new lease on life, because I'm teaching people how to get everything they want in life. I am also giving people a chance to win $10,000. I'm going to be bringing this brick with me there, And this is $10,000 that was left from the last seminar that nobody won. And I asked 6 people in the audience, gave everybody a chance to win it. So I'm going to bring it back. And I don't know anybody else that's giving people an opportunity to win $10,000 in cash. And if this seems gimmicky, sorry. But, we have to do everything we can to bring people. And the questions are pretty simple. So the Awakening Seminar, I don't care if you're, again, a Kemetic priest or an Ifa priest, or if you're a Holy Roly Christian, or if you're a Hebrew Israelite, or if you are a Muslim and you're on the Sorota Mustaqim and the Deen Allah, I welcome everyone, because there is something of major value that you will walk away from the seminar weekend with, that you could use for the rest of your life. And I should be charging $100,000 for this seminar, but I am not. I'm making it very, very affordable to everyone. So that's what's going to be happening on this seminar weekend. And again, to be didactic, what gives me the veracity, as you say, or the audacity to do what it is that I asked to teach what I know by the spiritual world, because I was minding my business just being an actor, but I was asked, hey, we want you to teach humanity, those people who are in close proximity to you, some of the things that you've learned. And I'm like, well, how am I going to do that? And they said, don't worry, we'll back you up. And I have to say that the spiritual world has been not in terms of supporting what it is that they've asked to do. And there's a lot of things I can't say, because we'll probably put somewhat of a target on what we're doing, but there's no one that has walked away from any of our seminars without a very full tank of octane, spiritual fuel, inspiration, and ready to hit life again. And that stays with you for 3 to 6 months.
Yes, sir. I want you to direct them. How can they go about, buying tickets for the seminar?
Right. This particular seminar, if you guys want to take a picture of this QR code, you can take a picture of this real quick. This will bring you to galacticus.com. This is the link where everything is.
Put it more prominently in that box, please. Just
yes.
Okay. Yes, right there. Hold that. Just like that. Thank you.
Yes. So you got that. So galacticus.com, which is spelled GALIGHTICUS.com, and those people will be able to find the seminar weekend. I also would say Friday is apotheosis. That's where I'm teaching people how to become a god specifically. Ultrana Hada will be Saturday, and the Awakening seminar will be on Sunday, which is September the 1st. Some people may only be able to attend one day, but if you really are able to, you may want to come to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I also would advocate for people in the bordering states of, Tennessee and Alabama, which is it should be a day trip for you. Come on down and make sure that you sign up for it.
You got Florida, you got Alabama, you got the Carolinas, and you
South
got all
Carolina,
throughout Georgia, right? All of them are in touch points to, within the 3 or 4 or 5 hours. Tennessee, so you got Tennessee, you got the Carolinas, you got Florida, and Alabama. All of those family, and Mississippi family still comes up from Mississippi to seminars. So we're putting an open calling out. Family, this is the opportunity of a lifetime that you've been waiting on. If you are tired of just plain human mundanity, and you want to step out of that cloth and step into your light, this is an opportunity being presented to you in the city of Atlantis to tap into your Phoenix self and get into your God body, right? Like the brother said, without being confused with any other way that you may have understood that term being explained or delivered to you prior.
Right. And I would jump in and also say, Blue Pill, we have a very very specific description of what each of the seminar, what you could expect, what's going to be taught, and on the ticket tailor page where the seminar is listed, we also have 3 long form commercials on our YouTube page on Galacticus. You can go to the page, subscribe, hopefully, and look for those commercials. And one of them, you can hear our students talking about the benefit of coming to the seminars and lots of other things. So if you need to do your due diligence, as you should, it is all there and it's all public.
Yes, family. And our brother is featured prominently throughout our connecttoyourcity.com platform on KTL Plus and various other platforms. The brother looks like he was not only made for TV, he looks very much at home there. So thank you for, my ability to flip through the channels 8, 9, 10 in the morning and always see your program in there.
Yes.
Highly professional program. Again, whatever was being done in the past in terms of your production was perfectly preparing you for the now, because it's so TV ready that, again, it looks and it feels like this is what TV's supposed to look like. This is how it's supposed to flow. This is the programming I want to be used to when I click on my TV, as opposed to opening my phone. Same way. More information, more engaging, and I can definitely tell by the looks of looking from the TV, looking in, that the physical seminar is somewhere that I want to be. I want to be in the presence of those people. I want to be seated in front, getting this light, getting this information, and I want to apply what I learned. You know what I'm saying? Especially if I invested in myself to be there.
That's right.
Right. So leading up to the 30th, we will air the commercial as a sponsor on Know the Ledger 444 leading up to it. And I also want to have an open invitation to bring you back, to bring some of your students, certain other Shri masters, so we can have a panel and a conversation and a Q&A. My audience is very interested in learning more about what it is that you have to offer.
That would be fantastic. I wanted to ask, do you have the ability to, and I don't know if time allows or if you guys have built that into this, but is there any ability to answer maybe 1 or 2 questions before we sign off, or is that not, can
Yes,
that
sir.
not be? That just wanted
That is absolutely doable. We
Yes.
have the
Okay.
chat room. We have about 160 people live right now
Oh, that's great.
on YouTube, and we're also broadcasting simultaneously on the Gram, about 40 people over there. So I'll be fair enough, and we'll take from both sides, from Instagram a question, and then we'll also take from IG.
Excellent. Yes.
And real quick, if there's anybody in the Galacticus organization in the YouTube, if you could drop a link tree or a link leading to the website for more information, I'll highlight it. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you. Chain of command, if anybody's listening, that would be great. Yes. Awesome.
indeed. So let's get a question from the audience.
Yes.
We have one question that says, "Is acting dangerous for personality conflicts?" That is from Stan.
Acting could definitely be, if you're not a grounded person and you don't have a firm sense of who you are as a person, it could be caustic, to say the least. Mel Gibson said that actors are prostitutes for emotions. And if that prostitution is not arrested and you don't pour back into the vessel of who you were before you portrayed the character, you could be someone that basically burns out, like a lot of the actors who are basically off kilter. If you look at a lot of actors who have committed suicide, or certain actors who basically have lost their way, it is because they were not grounded enough to come back to the center of who they were, and also didn't have a strong enough sense of self when they actually were portraying character. So
Right.
be or any type of performer, you first need to have a very firm grasp on who you are as an individual.
Excellent. Excellent. I have one more question. What started your interest to start your spiritual journey? And that is from Lemon Stand 24.
What started, I think the earliest memories that I have is going to church and going to Bible school and Bible study and not having my questions answered about why is it that some white guy died on the cross for my sins, but this isn't an anarchistic society. Because if somebody died on the cross for our sins, that means that I could go out and I could rob, kill, cheat, steal, do all of these things, and I would have to go to hell, right? Isn't that what that means? And whatever church I went to, certain questions like that, I was always thinking how Christianity just never really made sense to me. And it basically led me to read outside of the Bible. And that's what started my spiritual journey. And each step led to the next higher step. And that started 40 years ago.
Okay. Who or what is a Shree Master and how did you get the name?
Sri Master, it started off with Lakshmi. Lakshmi is she is the divine mother of my physical form. And she asked me to place a Shri on the Master Gano part because she wanted me to be set apart from people who don't have that on their name. And that is a term that also is associated with the wealth of knowledge and power that I offer to my people. Also, when people address me as Tree
Been here
Master,
for a whole hour, miss. I just
it allows me to switch gears and give you the very best of what Sri Master is. So what it means is that I am a card carrier to the divine world and to the gods of light that have something to do with the basically the causation of their children who happen to be some of you guys on this planet. And that's the reason why I have that name, and that's what it means. It means that I am a servant to the gods by way of humanity.
Excellent. We have a question from IG and they wanted to know, this is Mr. Compound, what is the benefits of having an activated Kundalini post eclipse?
Well, having an activated Kundalini period means that you are now in possession and control of the oldest spark of energy that is your divine birthright. A lot of people are, they don't have any control over their Kundalini, and as a result, their chakras end up spinning the wrong way and backwards, and it causes, and anybody who is in a, how do I say this? A lot of people who are conflicted about what gender they are, their kundalinis are not activated. That would not allow you to have that level of confusion. People who are heavily influenced by Mercury retrograde most likely don't have an activated kundalini. People who are influenced by certain declinations of certain planets that are in proximity to their astrological chart are people who don't have an activated kundalini. So you are a lot more centered and you are a lot more able to heal other people when your kundalini is activated. You are also able to get the benefit of ley lines that you walk upon. You are also able to, when you have, and I'm saying all of these things proprietary to Galacticus. So when I activate your kundalini, you come in under that. These are the benefits that come with that. It opens up the doorway for you to be able to have concourse with other beings who are not part of the human default program. And those are just some of the things that are beneficial for people who have gotten their kundalini activated by Galacticus.
Thank you, my good brother. Thank
You're
you. I
welcome.
appreciate that. Brother Blue, do you have any other words?
This has been an amazing conversation. And again, as you said, a major introduction to the fact that we will be having more conversations leading up to the 30th. We want to inform the entire world that this opportunity is available, but there's limited space available, of course. So if you are in Atlanta or those surrounding areas, this is for you primarily. You know what I mean? This is your opportunity to heed the calling and come through, family. All right. August 30th to
August
September 1st.
31st and
Yes,
September
August,
1st.
right.
I
August
also would
30th to
add
September 1st. Yes, sir.
for people, I would invite people to do their due diligence by going to all of our social media platforms. With Galacticus has a page on Facebook, we have a page on TikTok, we have a YouTube channel, and we also have an Instagram page. We have 4 pages on Instagram. Get Gam, which is our Galacticus ancestor money. We have AESMGG. We have Galacticus, of course. And each one of those platforms has different types of information. So if you feel to do your due diligence and peruse through those platforms and study and see what it is that we are offering, I think that would be handsome in terms of edifying you on what it is that you could possibly be in store for. And sign up for our newsletter also on galacticus.com so that you guys can be in the flow of anything that comes forth from that time on.
Indeed, indeed. We had a lot of
Yeah.
questions that were popping up. So we would advise the family and the audience to join us on the next show that we have with the good brother. We will bring other guests on. We'll have a panel. We'll have further conversations leading up to the 31st, the 30th, and the 1st. All right.
You don't want to answer just one last question?
Okay. All
Being
right.
that you said that.
Here we go. All right. So Anthony says that I've been on my spiritual journey for a while, but I seem to have hit a wall in my feeling and education. Do you have any advice on what I can do to grow closer to the God within me?
Yes, you have hit a plateau, Anthony. And what happens is spirituality is a lot like working out. When people work out too much in the gym, their muscles are not able to grow because their muscles hit a plateau where they're used to the regimen. So muscle confusion is very important in order to have a muscularity that continues to grow. I would invite you to attend our seminar weekend, whether it's on Friday or Sunday, so that you can have a brand new shot in the arm, so to speak, that will give you things that you've never heard before, but things that you can use. And don't allow wherever you are to stop you from coming, because a lot of times people say that they want spiritual growth and all of the tapestries that come with it, but they want to stay local in their consciousness. They're not willing to get outside and take off of work if they have a job and make the concessions that they need to make in order to be present at something like this. If you're not willing to do those things, why should the spiritual world honor you and give you a big ticket and show you something more if you're basically sediment and comfortable in your own limitation? You have to get beyond that in order to grow. And I've taken every opportunity that I can by me personally traveling abroad, taking the bull by its horns of any type of thing that I've been trepidatious with. And it's constantly giving me the result that on the other side is where I always hoped to be, if that answers your question.
Another question is, will there be any streaming availability? I'm in
No,
Dallas. This sounds like
no,
okay.
no, no, no. Get on a plane,
Right.
train, or automobile and come in person. We cannot stream this type of spiritual teaching. It is vastly, grossly irresponsible for teaching people how to be gods just out there. I have to control the dispensation of this as a divine avatar. I'm going to give you guys another note. You need to break out of the streaming question. If that kind of thought is pervasive in your consciousness, where you want it to come to your living room or to your phone, you won't grow beyond that. You won't grow to a point of where you can be if that line of thinking is something that stops you from being present. And I can go on all day about that. I make
Yeah.
all of my students, initiates, and adepts, they have to do the same thing. I have to fly people in. I have to fly a whole television crew to come in sometimes and film what I'm doing, because we have a library. But again, if you're not willing to go out of your way to get this information, why should you have it in the first place? And that's a rhetorical question.
Right. No, I'm in concurrence with that analogy.
Right,
Just strong in where we had the meeting of the masters, it was being viewed through people's live stream, but
right.
they would never have the experience of the live experience of being able to physically, you know, give people hugs and pounds and break bread, and it's completely different when it's live,
You're
completely
getting
different.
about 15% of what actually is going on. Nothing replaces the oscillation in the frequencies and the energies of the day. When you settle for streaming, I can understand if you're incapacitated and you just cannot move out of your house, or you are in the hospital, or you can't, you can't travel. But if you don't suffer from any of those deficits, you're starting your spiritual education off in a limited way. And again, you will not manifest much. And as Brother Red said, nothing replaces being there. You're getting very, very little of the benefit of being there. There are oscillations. We actually have higher beings that attend, and they're not visible, but they are there, and people can feel their energy. There are people that have seen me cut cords of people, and they can see the wings of the angels who ensouled the instruments that I use. There are people that feel this, they can't trace where it's coming from because the vibration is so fast. So I want you to make it part of your thinking that you will be willing to do anything and everything, legally, of course, and within good standing of your character and decorum, to get to the next stage of your evolution, like in the mystery schools. The mystery schools didn't come to where you were in your living room or in your adobe or your shack. You had to go to the mystery schools and sometimes wait 10, 20, or 30 years to get a modicum of what it is that they had to teach. But that modicum would change not only your life, but your life, the life of your family, your society, community, and the world. That's how that works. And you have to look back. Indeed.
Yeah, we have to drop the bomb on that. But definitely, my good brother, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for being on time.
Yes. On
This
time and in time. Absolutely.
in time, right? This ceremony that you're putting together is divinely on time. People
Yes.
that I've spoken to are definitely ready to take it to the next level. There are a lot of people that are individually on their journey and collectively looking for a tribe that will, hold them to certain type. When you're in the gym and you need a spotter,
Yes.
right? So people are out here with tribe looking to have spiritual spotters to keep them at a certain type of keep the bar raised at a certain type of level.
That's
So
right.
all of my journeymen and journey women that are out there that are on the journey, and this speaks to you and it speaks to your journey. Let's get in touch with us. You can hit us up on a DM. You can hit the good brother up. I'm going to talk to him about maybe a discount code, something that will help the KT aliens, make a decision. But you will see the commercial, and you will see the good brother Sri Master Gano Grills coming back.
Gano, Gano,
Gano,
Gano,
Gano
Gano.
Grills coming
Put a
back.
that on your left boulder when I see you, Red.
Yes, indeed. And it was
My
a
brother.
pleasure having you. It was a pleasure having you. And those questions that the brother Blue was asking, definitely on point, top tier. I look forward to seeing you in the ATL.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for having me, gentlemen. And it's been great. And we'll see each other again soon. All right.
Indeed. Peace.
Peace and blessings.
Yes, my brother. Hey.
Right. Blue.
Say it
Yes, sir,
again.
Blue.
Yeah.
All right. Peace. So we're going to end this with the 44 tops, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gods and goddesses. This right here is Red and Blue Purple Like Prince, the Facts remix. The EP on the way. The single is available on the band Zoogle. All right. And we got merch on the Mark 125. So check it out, y'all. See you soon. Peace.
Red and blue, purple light, friends. Red and blue, purple light, friends. Facts. Red and blue, purple light, friends. Red and blue, purple light, friends. Facts. You can get to know the ledger, sacrilegious Sunday to melanin Monday. You can get to know the ledger, my love. Just open your third eye on Thursday. Lord, the food, the art, clothes, the Vatican's getting exposed fast. We put the show on the road. You better stay on your toes. I was till the land focused on the ego. Then I opened my heart, let go of the ego. Grand after grand, we stacking up these C notes. Facts, yeah, we gon' put this shit on our backs. Facts, we in your city, pull up where we at. Peace, love and light, peace, love to the family. Peace, love and light to the family. Peace, love and light to the family.
These days and time, black man, is going to be the time.
Red and blue, purple light, friends. Red and blue, purple light, friends. Facts. Red and blue, purple light, friends. Red and blue, purple light, friends. Facts. You can get to know the ledger, sacrilegious Sunday to melanin Monday. You can get to know the ledger, my love. Just open your third eye on Thursday. Lord, the food, the art, clothes, the Vatican's getting exposed fast. We put the show on the road. You better stay on your toes. I was till the land focused on the ego. Then I opened my heart, let go of the ego. Grand after grand, we stacking up these C notes. Facts, yeah, we gon' put this shit on our backs. Facts, we in your city, pull up where we at. Peace, love and light, peace, love to the family. Peace, love and light to the family. Peace, love and light to the family.
These days and time, black man going to be the time that you have been waiting for. You came here for a reason. Whatever pressure, whatever adversity, whatever the fuck you feel, I don't know what you feel, but whatever you may be feeling is going to push you, and it's going to provoke you, and it's either going to make you or break you, similar to how pressure busts pipes or the shit makes diamonds.